So yeah, my wife left me. 3 a.m., middle of the Persian Gulf. I'd just finished a brutal 14-hour day on the oil rig. My phone buzzed. Christa, my wife of 18 years, was dumping me, moving to Palm Springs with some 25-year-old guy. She was taking all our money. My hands were still covered in grease when I saw it. Then bam, another text, a screenshot of our bank account. $0.2. 142,000 bucks, poof, gone. She'd even thrown a little kissy face emoji on there like it was all a big joke. I swear I didn't even flinch. No phone throwing, no punching walls. Just sat there on my bunk in that tiny room with two other guys and typed back, sure, good luck. Then I shut the phone off and went to take a shower. The guys figured something was up the next morning. I skipped breakfast, went straight to work. Jackson, my foreman, kept giving me these worried looks during our safety checks, but he didn't push it. We had 16 people depending on us to keep that floating metal death trap safe and running. Personal stuff stayed personal. At lunch, I checked my email, divorce papers. She was claiming I'd abandoned her because I work offshore so much. Her lawyer, some guy named Bradley, specializes in snatching cash from rich guys. They're already asking for alimony, saying I make too much money. She actually had the guts to tell me her emotional support dude was shacking up in our place in Odessa. I slammed my laptop shut and went back to work. Didn't say a word about it to anyone. That night, I sent one email. Not to Christa, but to my cousin Brendan, who does accounting in Houston. Time to activate Protocol Winter, I typed. That was our code from way back. No need for any explanation. 3 minutes later, he wrote back, already on it. Don't answer anything until you're back in the States. I still had 2 weeks left on this job. 2 more weeks of working 12-hour shifts in that godforsaken 110-degree heat, while everything I'd built at home was falling apart. The other guys would have understood if I'd asked for emergency leave, but what would that do? Better to just finish the job and get the paycheck. When I finally got off shift that night, the rig supervisor Vincent stopped by my room. Everything all right? He asked. He wasn't just asking about the drilling. Everything's under control, I told him. And it was more than Christa would ever know. I met Christa 19 years ago at my buddy's fishing supply store. In Odessa. She was 31 then, running the register and making fun of city slickers who thought catching bass was rocket science. I was 33, already a decade into oil work, back home between gigs and helping my friends stock shelves. We were married 11 months later. Quick, but it felt right at the time. I'd already made a good life for myself, owned my house outright, thanks to a lucky investment in a little oil company that got bought out. My job on those international oil rigs, it was a good gig, steady work. She always said she liked that about me, how focused I was. And I loved her easy way with people, how she could chat with anyone. But those 2-month stints, 1 month off, that was rough. Still, the pay was amazing. I made in half a year what most folks around here made in 3. We both knew it was worth it. She'd take care of things at home while I built our life together. Then, about 12 years in, things started to crack. Little things at first. She'd mention missing birthdays, wonder if I really needed that Saudi job. She'd say her friends' husbands were always around for dinner. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs when I turned 47. She just stopped asking when I'd be home. No more pictures of what she was up to. Our video calls got shorter, but I figured that was just what happens in a long-distance marriage, you know. Things settle down, the excitement fades. Last Christmas, I came home and the whole house was different. Completely redecorated, new furniture, new paint, everything. When I asked, she just said I needed a change. I didn't press it. Then, 2 months ago, I saw money missing from our joint account. Transfers to some account I'd never seen before. She said it was for house repairs, that the foundation needed work. I drove past the house before heading out on this last trip. There wasn't a single construction worker around, but this black Audi was parked in our driveway, one I'd never seen before. 4 weeks ago, she completely stopped taking my calls. Just texts saying she was swamped with some new job. I almost dropped everything and raced home. But I talked myself down, told myself to trust my wife of 18 years. 3 days ago, Harold, our neighbor, sent me a picture of a moving van outside our place. Thought you should know, was all he said. I didn't even bother to write back, I just waited. Sometimes, you know, the best thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Let things play out. I finished my shift the day after that last text from Christa and headed to my room. My satellite phone rang. It was Brendan. You sitting down? He asked. Just tell me, I said. He didn't pull any punches. She'd been planning this for over a year, at least 14 months. She'd been quietly moving money little by little to a secret account in her maiden name. 2 grand here, 3 grand there, then bigger chunks over the last 3 months. A total of $214,000. And that wasn't even counting the $142,000 she'd taken from our joint account. The whole room felt like it was spinning. That was way more than what our joint savings showed. Brendan kept going. "There's more," he said. "She changed your beneficiaries on the life insurance 6 months ago, and she got a $40,000 home equity loan, using your signature, a fake one, of course." I just sat there on the edge of my bunk, hearing the low rumble of the rig's engines below. We'd been together for 18 years, almost 2 decades, and she'd been systematically wiping me out of her life, piece by painful piece, for over a year. So I finally asked who this guy was. Devin Forrester, 25 years old, just like she'd said, used to be a personal trainer but no real job for the past 3 years. Apparently, he has a history, 3 other girlfriends, all over 45, and each relationship lasted less than a year and a half. I didn't need a chart to see the pattern. Then Brendan's voice got all quiet, and he said, "There are charges on her credit card for 2 one-way tickets to Palm Springs. Next Tuesday." That was 3 days away. She wasn't just leaving, she was making a run for it, trying to disappear with everything before I even got back. I hung up and just sat there in the dark. Didn't even bother turning on a light. I just sat and watched all the memories in my head shift around, like a jigsaw puzzle getting reshuffled into a whole new picture. Those late-night phone calls she'd take outside, her sudden obsession with working out 3 years ago, always complaining about money even though we had plenty saved. It wasn't the cheating that stung the most. It was the planning. The cold, calculated way she'd taken apart our whole life, all while smiling at me, taking my money, telling me she missed me. Something inside me just snapped. The hurt turned into something else, something harder, colder. I went to my locker, grabbed my laptop, and logged into the email account that was just for Brendan and me. I logged into the account for Winterlight Holdings, the company I'd set up 8 years back after seeing a coworker get screwed in a divorce. My grandma's maiden name and the creek on our land, that's what I named it after. When the balance popped up, I saw $1.6 million. 8 years of funneling 70% of my paychecks there. Totally legal, paid taxes on it, but walled off from anything my husband could touch thanks to the way Brendan structured it. I shot off a quick email to my lawyer time to launch Operation Cold Return, as we called it. I shut the laptop and headed to the mess for some coffee. First time I'd felt like eating in days. 38 hours after my tour ended, I touched down in Houston. Brendan was there waiting, handed me a burner phone and a file full of papers. "She's been blowing up your regular phone since yesterday," he told me as we walked to his car. "The bank put a hold on the account where she moved the money. Standard stuff for big, weird transactions. They want you to come in to verify it." "She has no idea I'm even back," I said. "Nobody does, just you, me, and Thomas." Thomas was my attorney, yeah, but that wasn't the craziest part. He pulled out his tablet and showed me a string of texts. They were between Christa and someone saved as D. I scrolled through them, plans for their new life, jokes about me slaving away overseas while they blew through my cash, details about a house in Palm Springs they'd already put money down on. But one text thread from a couple days ago really hit me. "So the bank froze our money. Miles had to be there in person to unlock it, which was a total nightmare. What were we going to do? He's still out on that oil rig, 10 days away. I had to tell him it was an emergency with my mom, something to get him to let me handle things. I mean, we're still married, right? But he wasn't picking up my calls. I tried and tried. We needed that money before the house closes next week, or we'd have to go with Plan B and Plan B. I wasn't thrilled about that at all. It's just insurance money, you know. He takes those dangerous jobs for a reason. Accidents happen, right?" I handed the tablet back to Brendan. My hands were totally still but freezing cold. "Are these even usable in court?" I asked. He said, "They're from her phone's cloud backup. She used your Apple ID to set up her new phone last year. Lesson learned, never reuse passwords. Everything synced to your cloud, see?" We zoomed right over to Thomas's office. He had everything ready, divorce papers, a complaint about her forging that home equity loan, and papers to freeze all our assets. Then he hit me with this: "There's a problem. She filed a domestic violence claim against you yesterday. Says she left because of emotional abuse and that I was controlling her money, that she feared for her safety." "That's insane," I said. "I've been 6,000 miles away for 7 weeks. But Thomas just said, "Doesn't matter. It's a way to get the judge on her side and grab the money. Her lawyer wants an emergency hearing tomorrow to get a restraining order against me and give her the house. So she wants to kick me off my own land while her boyfriend's shacking up there." Thomas just nodded like it was nothing. And get this, the home equity loan, gone. Poof. She'd moved it all 3 days later to some LLC under this guy Devin Forrester. I took a deep breath, trying to keep it together. What could we do? "We file a countersuit right away," Thomas said. "Fraud, forgery, even alienation of affection. We're talking criminal conspiracy here." He pointed to some texts. "Based on this, we'll ask the court to freeze all her accounts and that LLC too." Then he pushed a paper across the desk. "And we file this." I looked at it, a motion to toss her domestic violence claim, said she'd perjured herself. "What proof?" I asked, bewildered. Thomas gave me a little tight-lipped smile. "Your company's security badge shows you've been out on that oil rig for 7 straight weeks. Your passport stamps back that up. And I got your phone records, every call you two made for the past year. Nothing. No fights, no threats, nothing." I signed where he told me. He added, "One more thing. We need you to act totally shocked when she gets served. She can't know you're back. Officially, you're still out at sea." I nodded. Yeah, I could do that. As I walked out, my phone buzzed a text from Christa to my regular number. "Please call me, it's an emergency, I need you." I didn't answer. The trap was sprung, and it wasn't her setting it. I crashed at Brendan's that night and slept like a log, better than I had in ages. So the next morning, I checked the security cameras at our place in Odessa. I'd set the whole thing up myself, 3 years back, and I still controlled it from overseas. Christa either forgot about them or just figured I couldn't see anything from where I was. Anyway, there he was, some kid, sprawled out by the pool, my pool, knocking back my whiskey, wearing my old college sweatshirt of all things. He was on my phone, chatting with someone, laughing his head off, feet propped up on the patio furniture I'd built myself. Then Christa walked into the shot. Man, she looked stressed, pacing back and forth while she talked. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but her body language screamed this isn't going as planned. Brendan walked in with coffee. "You gotta see this," he said, opening his laptop. He'd been up all night digging into this Devin Forrester guy's past. What he found, it blew everything wide open. Turns out, this wasn't his first rodeo. 3 times this creep had pulled the same stunt. He meets a woman usually married, always loaded, gets into a relationship, she dumps her husband, grabs whatever cash she can, they split, and then 18 months later, poof, he vanishes with the rest of her money. Brendan showed me the screen news stories, court records, social media posts. 3 women over 5 years, all cleaned out. One lady was still paying off credit card debt he'd racked up in her name. Brendan leaned in, his voice low. "And that's not all," he whispered. "Apparently, this guy was even a person of interest in the death of his second girlfriend's ex-husband. It was a weird car crash, 6 weeks after the divorce papers were filed. He went right off a cliff on a road he'd driven for 20 years. No one ever got charged, but man, the whole thing felt fishy." My phone buzzed Christa again on my regular number. I just let it go to voicemail. "You gotta hear this," Brendan said, putting her message on speakerphone. "Miles, please." Christa's voice was all choked up, like she was about to cry. "I need you to call the bank. There's been some kind of mix-up with our account. I was just moving money, to a safer investment like we planned, but the bank froze everything. I can't get to any of it. Please call them and tell them it's okay. I'm really scared." We'd never even talked about moving money. She was a good actress, though. I probably would have believed her a couple of weeks earlier. "She's desperate," Thomas said when we met for lunch. "The Palm Springs house closes in 5 days. They need that cash." "So, what's the plan?" I asked him. "The emergency hearings this afternoon. Judge Winters is hearing it. She hates false domestic violence claims." "We've got your alibi all set, and we've filed to get your money back," Thomas said. "But there's something else you need to see." He pushed a file across the table. "Your neighbor Harold sent these to the office this morning." It was pictures. Pictures of my furniture being loaded onto a moving truck. My furniture, family heirlooms, stuff that had been in my family for ages. "So yeah, they're cleaning out the house," Thomas told me. "They're planning to bolt whether they get that bank loan or not." I snapped the file shut and gave it back. Things changed. Both of them stared at me. I just blurted it out, "I'm going home." Thomas said it wasn't a good idea. Before Thomas could talk me out of it, I said I'd watch from Harold's place. I needed to see it with my own 2 eyes. Brendan and Thomas exchanged glances. I told them I wanted to be there when they got served, not hiding behind some fancy legal documents. I wanted Christa to see me when her whole world came crashing down. Thomas just nodded slowly. "I'll fix it," he said. As we walked out of the restaurant, my burner phone buzzed. It was Harold. He texted, "They're packing up your grandpa's desk right now, the one you fixed. Figured you'd want to know." It wasn't just about the money anymore. This betrayal hit way harder than I ever imagined. This was personal, a whole new level of personal. That 6-hour drive to Odessa gave me plenty of time to stew. Thomas got the sheriff to serve the papers at 9 the next morning. Brendan set up his cameras from Harold's place across the street. That's where I was going to crash for the night. We had it all covered. Harold greeted me with a simple handshake when I got there, just after midnight. He's a retired oil man, spent 30 years on those rigs, no need for explanations. "She doesn't know you're watching, right?" I asked him once we were inside. "Nope," he said. "They've been busy, packing all day, loading up the good stuff, leaving the rest behind." He gestured toward his front window and I could see my driveway perfectly from there. 2 moving vans had already come and gone. Tomorrow morning the big ones were coming for the final stuff. I just took it all in. "Anybody else been around?" "Some lady with a clipboard showed up yesterday," he said. "She looked like a realtor." I was completely caught off guard. "Looks like they're selling the house." I saw her taking pictures. I called Thomas, and he said he'd check the property records first thing, like at 3 a.m. Couldn't sleep, so I sat at Harold's kitchen table, going over all the stuff Brendan had put together. The bank records showed Christa had been slowly taking all our money. Phone records revealed hours and hours of calls to Devon, going back over a year. Credit card statements showed hotel bills in our own town, on days she said she was visiting her sister. Seeing all the proof laid out like that was chilling. It wasn't just a one-time thing, but a calculated scheme. She'd been deliberately tearing down everything we'd built, little by little. By dawn, Thomas had texted back. Christa had listed our house with a realtor 2 days before. The asking price was 30% below what it was worth, trying to sell it fast. She'd faked my signature on the listing agreement. Around 8:30 that morning, I watched from Harold's kitchen window as Christa and Devon packed the last stuff into Devon's black Audi. Small, easy to grab things. My grandmother's silver picture frames, the antique watch my dad gave me before he passed. A giant moving van rolled up at 8:45 in the morning. 3 guys got out and headed for the house, right on time. Then, at 8:55, a nondescript car pulled up right behind the truck, boxing it in. 2 sheriff's deputies and a woman in a fancy suit got out. Thomas had sent a court officer with them. "It's time," I told Harold. I walked across the street as the deputies walked up to my front door. Christa opened it, and her face went from annoyed to totally puzzled when the officers showed their badges. "Mrs. Harrington, we have some papers to serve you and the gentleman inside." I stayed back a little, watching from the edge of the driveway as she went pale. She called for Devon, and he showed up behind her with his arms wrapped around her waist like he owned her. That's when I stepped into view. The look on Christa's face, I'll never forget it. Shock turned to fear, then to like a plan forming in her eyes. Devon just looked totally lost. "Miles," she whispered, "you're supposed to be on the boat." "Surprise," I said softly, giving the deputies the go-ahead. They handed her the pile of papers. There was an emergency restraining order against them, a freeze on all their money, a criminal complaint for forgery, a cancellation of the house listing, and the divorce papers, all citing fraud and criminal conspiracy. "You can't do this," Devon blurted out, sticking his chest out. "She's scared of you." "We had a domestic violence claim dismissed this morning by Judge Winters," I said, cutting him off. It's not exactly simple to mess with someone when you're that far away. The judge seemed super focused on those texts about this Plan B thing, which, involved my insurance. His expression just kind of went blank. Christa stepped up, already crying. "Miles, it's all a big mix-up." I jumped in for her, pointing at the moving truck. "I was just keeping our stuff safe. Protecting our stuff by emptying our house. Planning our future by selling our home." Without telling me, she couldn't say anything. "You've got 30 minutes to grab your personal things," the officer told us. "Clothes, toiletries, everything else stays, court inventory." As they went inside with a guard, I started to leave. "Where are you going?" Christa yelled after me. I didn't look back. The hearing was 3 weeks later. I was at one table with Thomas. Christa and her lawyer were at another, and Devon was nowhere to be seen. He'd vanished 2 days after getting served, along with Christa's remaining money and jewelry. Just like Brendan had found out, the judge went over the evidence slowly. Bank records, fake documents, texts, location stuff. When she got to those texts about Plan B and insurance money, she stopped reading and looked right at Christa. Mrs. Harrington, are you aware of the possible consequences for conspiracy to commit insurance fraud or even worse? Christa's lawyer was whispering in her ear like crazy. It wasn't like that, you know, Your Honor, Christa stammered. Seriously, I was just kidding around, I mumbled. Save it for the trial, the judge cut in. This court deals with splitting up the stuff and ending the marriage. She kept flipping through the paperwork, sometimes giving a little shake of her head. Once she was done, she put the papers down and took off her glasses. In all my 30 years as a judge, she said, I've hardly seen a marriage where someone planned to screw the other person financially so blatantly. She looked at Christa. You took all the money out of our shared accounts, fake documents, and we're going to run off with everything. Turning to me, her face softened a little. Mr. Harrington, even though you made separate accounts with a holding company, which some people might not like, the court finds you always covered the bills, paid your taxes, and didn't try to hide anything from the government just to protect it from possible problems later. Her decision was quick and done. Everything Christa moved around had to go back to me. The house stayed mine. Christa's requests for money were denied, and best of all, she sent the fake documents and conspiracy stuff to the district attorney to consider criminal charges. As we walked out, Christa tried to come near me. I just kept going. Some wins don't need any talking. 6 months later, I was standing on the front porch of my cabin up in the mountains outside of Missoula, Montana. That 40 acres of pines and meadows, my retirement dream, had always belonged to Winterlight Holdings. I bought the place 5 years back, a whole different life ago. Christa, she never even knew it existed. They knocked down the forgery charges, got her off with a plea bargain. No jail, but 5 years probation, and she's paying back money she'll probably never pay back. Last I checked, she was stuck with her sister in Tulsa, slinging clothes or something. Devin, oh, he'd moved on, found himself another divorced doctor out in Arizona. Same old Devin. I'd taken early retirement from the oil company after 27 years, that was enough of that. My investments, savings, and a little bit of natural gas money from Arkansas, I had more than enough to live comfortably, really. Harold still called now and then, gave me the Odessa news. I sold the house there. Too many memories and none of them were good ones anymore, not anymore. He helped clear everything out, shipped the family stuff to Montana, donated the rest. Then that afternoon, the mail brought a letter from Brendan. Final papers, Winterlight Holdings officially gone. Everything was settled, taxes paid. That chapter was finally over. As the sun dipped behind those mountains, I poured myself a bourbon and sat on the porch swing I'd built that summer. For the first time in ages, nobody was depending on me, you know. No crew waiting for orders, no wife pretending to care. Just peace and quiet, the wind whispering through the pines. Then the phone rang. A new project manager from an oil company in Canada called, offering me a consulting gig. The pay was great, and hardly any travel was involved. Basically, they wanted me to share all the stuff I'd learned over the years. I'll give it some thought, I told him, and I truly would, but not right then. Tonight was just for me. I was finally enjoying the tranquility I'd fought for, living the life I'd always wanted on my own. Essay.